What if the CIA wasn't just, like cracking codes, but actually trying to, like, I don't know, crack the code of time itself? Imagine a world, right, where the past and future aren't set in stone, and sound can be a weapon, like a scalpel or a wrecking ball. Welcome, curious minds, to a deep dive into, well, hidden history that might just change how you see, well, everything. Welcome, viewers, to the Quantum Soul channel. Today we're going on a journey. It's going to be a fascinating one, and maybe even a little unsettling. We're going to be looking at some texts, some sources, and these sources suggest a world where, get this, secret government projects, they might have tried to manipulate time and harness the power of sound.
What really grabs you right away is the sheer ambition. It's almost audacious, the things these alleged projects tried to do. Talking about potentially changing the very fabric of reality as we know it.
Yeah.
It makes you question everything. Is reality, is it fixed, or is it something way more, I don't know, flexible than we realize?
Exactly. So our mission today, it isn't about, proving or debunking these claims. They're extraordinary claims for sure. It's more about exploring what these documents say, really unpacking the ideas, the concepts they put forward, and thinking about what it all means, However speculative these ideas might be, what do they tell us about the universe, about consciousness, about what we as humans might be capable of? So are you ready to dive into the deep end? Let's go.
Our sources, they start with, well, alleged CIA involvement in projects, and these projects, they dealt with, well, temporal anomalies. And one name that pops up early on is, well, famous one, the Philadelphia experiment.
Ah, yes, Philadelphia experiment. This takes us back to, 1943. And it's really where, the line between recorded history and legend, it starts to get blurry. The main claim, as our text lay it out, is that the U.S. Navy, they were trying to make a ship, the USS Eldridge, invisible to radar. This was during World War II, of course. But what supposedly happened, it wasn't just invisibility, no. Our sources describe something way more dramatic. The ship, they say, it completely vanished, just poof, gone from its location. And then moments later, it reappeared, but in a different shipyard. Some accounts even say it briefly went to Norfolk, Virginia before coming back to Philadelphia.
That right there, that alleged jump through time, that's where the scientific and philosophical implications, they really start to get, well, mind-boggling. The texts also talk about, well, some strange and disturbing effects on the crew. Disorientation, sure. But there are also claims of sailors. Some of them, they actually, merged with the ship's metal. Others, they suffered psychological trauma, really severe. And some even had, visions of other realities. This suggests that their connection to normal space-time, it might have, I don't know, unraveled.
It's a wild scenario. What's really interesting is the supposed link to Nikola Tesla's theories. The texts, they suggest that the experiment used ideas from Tesla's work. Stuff about electromagnetism, the fifth dimension, hyperspace, all that. It's like, could a wartime experiment, something meant for a tactical advantage, could it have accidentally opened a door to something beyond the physics of the time?
The Tesla connection it's definitely intriguing. Tesla, he was a pioneer. His work with electromagnetic fields, it was groundbreaking. And then there were his less conventional explorations of reality, let's say. His ideas, they often went beyond the standard four dimensions. He hinted at the possibility of manipulating space and energy in ways we still don't fully understand. But this is important. Direct verifiable links between Tesla's actual research and what allegedly happened at the Philadelphia experiment, those links are hard to come by. They often show up in later versions of the story, you see.
So from this supposed accidental leap, right, into the unknown of time, our sources, they jump ahead a few decades. It's the 1970s now, and we come to, well, it's a shadowy one, Project Montauk.
Project Montauk. This one, it's often presented as a more intentional, and some would say a lot more out there continuation of what might have happened at Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. According to the text, the focus shifted. Now, the goal was time travel, and this is where it gets even more unsettling, maybe mind control.
Yeah, that's right. The narrative we see in the sources, it claims that this project, it involved using children, and these children, they supposedly had psychic abilities. The idea, it seems, was that these kids, they could somehow be used to open portals in time and to navigate different dimensions. There's even mention of a Montauk chair. This chair, it's described as a device to amplify their consciousness and to help them do these incredible things. It sounds like, I don't know, science fiction or maybe even ancient mystical practices, but reinterpreted through a technological lens.
Using psychic ability, right, to interact with time, with temporal reality, it really touches on fundamental question. What is consciousness? What's its relationship to the physical world? You know, a lot of philosophical and spiritual traditions, they say consciousness isn't just a product of the brain. They say it might have capabilities that go way beyond what science currently understands. The Montauk chair, in this context, you could see it as a hypothetical attempt to connect with those non-physical parts of consciousness and then use them to influence space-time.
And the story gets even stranger. Our sources mention, well, this is pretty bizarre. They say the project got inspiration from pop culture, stuff like Stranger Things and Dark. It's like a weird feedback loop, right? Alleged secret experiments maybe inspire fiction, and then that fiction, it fuels the legends around those experiments. But then the texts, they add this really unsettling detail. They talk about creatures that supposedly appeared, manifested because of the children's amplified thoughts. Makes you think, about the power of the mind and the huge ethical and existential risks if you try to manipulate something so fundamental.
Yeah, the ethics of potentially exploiting people, vulnerable people, especially children, for experiments like these, it's deeply troubling. And this idea, right, of thought forms becoming real physical things, it takes us into some heavy metaphysical territory. It echoes ideas you find in some esoteric traditions, ideas about the creative power of consciousness and how focused intention it might actually shape the material world.
Absolutely. So we've been following this alleged path of temporal exploration, and now we arrive at, Project Looking Glass. Here, the focus shifts again. It's not about physically traveling through time anymore. Now it's about the purported ability to see the future.
Project Looking Glass, as our sources describe it, it's like stepping into the world of precognition. It's about using technology to perceive future events. This concept of a temporal telescope or a quantum oracle, it's fascinating. It suggests a device that can somehow bypass the normal flow of time and get information from what we consider the future. It resonates with, ancient practices, divination, prophecy, all that, but through a supposed scientific mechanism.
The claim is that this technology, it let those in power, it let them see potential future timelines so they can make decisions in the present based on what they saw. The text suggests that this involved manipulating space-time, but in a different way. Not for travel, but for observation, like getting a view of different points in time.
Manipulating space-time to observe, not to travel. It would still require a deep understanding of quantum reality. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics, they do suggest that there are multiple possibilities, branching timelines, all that. A quantum oracle, it could be, hypothetically, a device that interacts with these possibilities, to offer glimpses of potential future state.
And then there's this really chilling detail in the sources. The theory that ancient civilizations, their collapse, it was foreseen using this technology, but for some reason, the warnings, they were ignored. It makes you ask, what about free will? What about destiny? If the future can be seen, does that mean it's fixed? And if we have that knowledge, if we can see the future, what responsibility comes with that?
Foresight and what it means for free will, it's a classic philosophical debate. If you can know future events, does that take away our ability to choose a different path? And the fact that allegedly nothing was done, even though they saw civilizations collapsing, it also says something about, human nature, how we make decisions, our capacity for denial, the difficulty of acting on information, especially when it's hard to accept.
It definitely does. Okay, so we've been diving into these extraordinary claims about manipulating time, and now our sources, they take us to another fascinating and potentially unsettling area. It's about using sound as a weapon.
Sound as a weapon. The idea has been around for a while. It's in scientific principles and, even ancient legends. We know sound as a form of energy, it can have powerful effects. Our texts, they explore claims that the CIA, they developed and used this power in different ways going beyond the usual applications.
Our sources, they highlight Project HARP. That's the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. Officially, it's presented as a scientific project studying the ionosphere, but the texts we have, they suggest a much wider and potentially more impactful range of capability.
HARP, go. Yeah, it's been the subject of a lot of speculation going beyond its stated scientific goals. The texts point to claims that it could be used for weather manipulation, things like triggering earthquakes, hurricanes, even influencing human behavior. The idea is that they use electromagnetic frequencies, and these frequencies, they could interact with the brain's electrical activity. It kind of echoes ancient beliefs about the power of vibrations and how they can affect the physical world and human consciousness.
The texts, they use this really vivid analogy. They describe the ionosphere as a vibrational shield and HARP as a sonic hammer. It's a powerful image, right? It suggests immense power being potentially wielded. It makes you think about the two sides of scientific discovery. Technologies developed for one purpose, they might have unintended consequences. Or they might be intentionally used for other things like environmental or psychological control.
The dual-use dilemma. Yeah, it's a recurring theme throughout history. Scientific advances, they could be used for good, to help humanity, or they could be used for things that raise serious ethical questions. The ionosphere, it's a vital part of our atmosphere, so it makes sense to study it. But to go from that to intentionally manipulating the environment on a large scale or influencing people's minds, that requires a huge leap. A leap away from accepted science and a level of control over energy that's, well, it's hard to even imagine.
Then the sources introduce these specific and kind of ominous-sounding sonic weapons, Gabriel, Yosua, and Excalibur. They're allegedly developed by the CIA, and the texts even hint that they might come from alien technology. That really takes us into the realm of, well, the truly extraordinary.
These weapon names, especially with a suggestion of extraterrestrial origins, it definitely takes things further into the realm of speculation. The texts, they describe Gabriel as having the ability to neutralize alien technology. They call it an anti-alien code. Yeah. It's a very specific and an intriguing, if highly unlikely, claim. It speaks to this fascination we have with the possibility of alien contact and the idea that we might need to defend ourselves against their technology.
Then there's Josua. It can supposedly destroy structures from up to 2 miles away just using sound. It's a staggering thought, right? Destruction on that scale, just from focused vibrations.
Sound can definitely cause damage. I mean, think of a glass shattering because of a resonant frequency. But to use sound to destroy buildings from that far away, it would need a massive amount of energy focused with extreme precision. The physics involved are, well, they're pretty mind-blowing.
And finally, Excalibur. It can allegedly penetrate, get this, 1,000 meters underground to destroy bases. The text uses this really powerful analogy. They call it a DJ of the apocalypse, manipulating vibrations. It really makes you think about the implications, right? Weapons that could target not just things on the surface, but hidden infrastructure, deep underground, and maybe even subtly influence consciousness through carefully crafted frequencies.
Deep earth penetration. Using sound, it would probably involve very low frequencies. Those kinds of frequencies, they can travel long distances through dense materials. And the human brain, it is sensitive to certain frequencies. There's been research into how sound can affect our emotions, our cognitive functions. The idea of weaponizing those effects, it raises some big ethical questions.
And this brings us to another, maybe more well-known area mentioned in our sources, Project MKUltra. We often hear about it in the context of chemical experiments, but the texts here, they specifically highlight the alleged use of sound and specific frequencies in this program. And the program, of course, was focused on mind control.
Project MKUltra. It's a documented part of history. It involves some very controversial experiments. Mind control, psychological manipulation, information gathering. The historical record, it mostly focuses on the use of drugs, hypnosis, psychological techniques. But exploring sound and electromagnetic frequencies as tools to influence mental states, it would definitely fit with the program's overall goals. And those goals, they were ethically questionable, to say the least.
The claim here is that the goal was to basically reset the human mind, and even to create programmed individuals. They use these methods, along with other coercive techniques. The sources even include this disturbing theory that people in positions of power, they were potentially activated through these programs. And the texts we looked at, they even touch on the highly debated alleged link to the assassination of John Lennon. It makes you confront this question: what is individual autonomy? And what safeguards do we need to protect our minds?
How much can the human mind be controlled, manipulated? It's a complex question, and it's ethically sensitive. History shows us what can happen when research in these areas is done without strong ethical oversight, without respect for individual rights. The claims of widespread covert influence and the alleged connection to major historical events, they highlight a deep anxiety in society, an anxiety about hidden power, about the erosion of free will.
Now, if you're finding this deep dive into these extraordinary claims, if you're finding it as mind-bending as we are, make sure you subscribe to the Quantum Soul channel. Like this video if you're enjoying it, and share it with anyone who might be interested in these hidden histories. Your support, it helps us keep exploring these fascinating threads.
We're nearing the end of our deep dive. It's important to step back now, to think about the bigger picture. What do these alleged projects, even if we just consider them as stories, what do they tell us about ourselves, about how we understand the world?
Exactly. We need to think about what these ideas, these narratives, what they might reveal about us and our understanding of everything around us.
Time manipulation, mind control. Even if we just entertain the possibility based on what our sources say, it challenges our basic assumptions about reality, how we perceive time, our sense of individual agency, the very idea of free will. They all come into question. It makes us ask, what is time? What is consciousness? And are they fixed or are they fluid?
It does seem to connect with a lot of philosophical and spiritual ideas, right? A lot of ancient traditions, they've explored the idea that time isn't linear, that consciousness is interconnected, that reality itself might be more of a construct than we think. These alleged scientific endeavors, in their own way, they seem to be wrestling with the same questions, but from a different angle.
Absolutely. A lot of mystical traditions talk about going beyond linear time, about reaching higher states of consciousness. These alleged projects, as described in our sources, they're like a distorted version of those ancient spiritual goals, or maybe a materialistic interpretation.
And the ethics, right? They can't be ignored. The sources we've looked at, they raise some huge ethical questions about power, secrecy, the potential for these technologies to be misused, technologies that could change our very experience of reality. It shows us how important ethical considerations are in any scientific or technological endeavor, especially those that deal with such fundamental aspects of reality and human existence.
The ethical considerations they're crucial. Imagine technologies that can manipulate time or thought. The potential for them to be used for control, for domination, it's immense. This highlights the need for open discussion, transparency, strong ethical frameworks to guide scientific exploration and how we develop technology.
You know, there's a stark contrast. On one hand, you have the alleged manipulative intentions behind some of these projects, and on the other, you have the spiritual pursuit of inner freedom, self-awareness. It's almost like there are two completely opposite approaches to understanding and interacting with the deeper nature of reality.
The contrast it's profound. Some alleged projects, they seem to be about external control over reality, over consciousness. But a lot of spiritual paths, they emphasize inner work, self-inquiry, cultivating wisdom. That's the way to liberation, to a deeper understanding of existence.
So whether these specific claims are true or not, what do they tell us? What do they reveal about our fascination as humans with the mysteries of time, of consciousness, about our potential for creation and destruction?
Regardless of whether these stories are true, they're powerful. They make us think. They force us to confront fundamental questions. Who are we? What's our place in the universe?
Yeah.
What responsibility comes with knowledge, with power? They tap into our deepest hopes and fears about reality, about whether we can influence it.
The texts even mention, things like meditation, mindfulness. They say these practices can help us develop resilience against being manipulated, and maybe even help us access those deeper levels of reality that these alleged projects were trying to reach, but through more, let's say, forceful methods.
The idea of inner work as a path to self-discovery, to empowerment,
Right.
It's a common thread in many wisdom traditions. When you cultivate inner stillness, awareness, it can give you a strong foundation. It helps you navigate the complexities of the world, and it gives you a greater sense of agency.
And like we said at the beginning, our goal wasn't to prove or disprove anything. It was to explore the information in our sources, to unpack the ideas, and to encourage you to think critically, to investigate further.
In the end, the value of looking at these narratives, it's in the questions they raise, the reflections they inspire about reality, consciousness, the ethics of trying to understand and maybe even manipulate those things.
So to recap our deep dive, we've journeyed through the alleged time travel experiments. The Philadelphia experiment, Project Montauk, the enigmatic Project Looking Glass. Then we explored the supposed development of sonic weapons like HARP and the mysterious Gabriel, Joshua, and Excalibur. And finally, we touched on the unsettling claims about Project MKUltra and its alleged use of sound.
And throughout our discussion, we focused on understanding the information, the concepts from the source material. We haven't endorsed or dismissed the validity of these extraordinary claims.
As you think about these ideas, fascinating and unsettling as they are, what resonates with you? What questions do you still have? Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video if you found it thought-provoking. Your exploration into the quantum soul, it continues. You'll see 2 more videos on your screen now. Click on the one that calls to you, and let's keep delving into the mysteries together.